Hey everyone, it's Mike. Before we get started with the show, I wanted to mention it's clear that we've made a lot of changes to the content that we've been creating this year, and we want your thoughts on how we're doing. You can find us on X or YouTube and take our 2024 survey. We really appreciate all the feedback. 5 respondents are going to win a free Mongols hat, so please go check that out. We really want to know what you think. Find us on X or YouTube. Click on the 2024 survey. We appreciate it. Okay, on with the show. Welcome everyone to Mongols. This is a special episode where, with the Hounds releasing their new third kit this past weekend, we wanted to get some insight into where all these cool new kit designs are coming from. Joining me for this one is someone who was instrumental in coming up with a look and feel and working with Charlie to make the dream a reality. It's Riverhounds Director of Merchandise, Ben Wilson. Ben, thanks for joining me.
Mike, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Real quick, just to sort of start things off, can you give us a bit of background just about your role with the Hounds and how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, so I actually just started in January. So I had to get caught up a little bit on the first kit that came out this year, but I have a lot of merchandising experience, not in pro sports per se, but in consumer goods, and wanted to kind of branch that out. And grew up playing soccer, played soccer for 30 years almost, and love the sport. So the two coming together is kind of what created this role for me, and sort of found my dream job. So
That's awesome.
going at it best I can.
No, listen, I think if the kits that we're seeing are any indication of sort of what's to come from you, I think we all can be very excited. Talk a little bit about the partnership with Charlie and sort of the biggest differences between them and what you know of sort of previous kits. Obviously, you sort of stepped into it and it was like Charlie,
Right.
that's who we're working with. But yeah, give us a little bit of background about sort of working with them and at least from what you know, the differences of working with somebody like Adidas or Nike or something like that.
Sure. So with Charlie, one of the things I think that we noticed right off the bat was the kind of their hunger to work with the hounds. And I think we saw something in them that kind of created a proper alignment from a growth standpoint as well. So there was a number of factors that went into it. One of them was obviously financial. There were some financial aspects to it that were beneficial to us. But really, what stood out very much from them was their ability to customize jerseys. They were doing things with jerseys and kits in general that other kit providers were not doing. I understand from other kit providers that a lot of times they give you basically a template to work with, and you have to work within those thresholds. And that is not what Charlie is doing. Charlie basically gives you a blank slate to go out and design the jersey that you want. Whatever your head can dream up, they can basically make it happen. And that was really a huge factor. Another factor was through that sublimation process, it allowed us to be able to get our product into retailers that we couldn't do with previous kit providers uh, with the jersey. So it created a whole new opportunity from a retail perspective as well for us to get the jersey in front of more people and more fans and the general public.
Was the retail bit just because they were able to produce more kits if we needed them? Or what sort of gives them the edge from a retail perspective that we wouldn't get from somebody else?
I think it's the fact that you're working with those templates and they could be so similar to other jerseys that they are doing around the world or country that might not allow it to come into the store. But to be honest, I don't know the exact answer to that question.
Gotcha. No, that's fair. Talk a little, you mentioned Charlie gives you sort of a blank slate. So talk a little bit about, the design process for these kits. Like where did you even start from? So complete blank slate, and then we end up with sort of what we have. How do we get there?
Sure. It's a very collaborative process. I think, we are here to help run the Riverhounds better, and that is what we're good at. But They are more the designers in the process, but we have to give them inspiration. Um, so where does that inspiration come from? It comes from the fan base. It comes from the city. What inspires us about a jersey? So, for instance, the bridge jersey. Um,
Hmm.
you start with, okay, so what are we trying to get across with this jersey? So we want the idea that it's going to bring people together. What connects the city? So that's where we landed on bridges. And to do that, you start looking, you kind of create what I would call a mood board or idea board, of ideas, whether it's just text in words that says bridge, connectivity, bring together, and then different pictures of bridges, that might work for that. Some that we shot, some that we might have seen from a certain angle, elsewhere, but create kind of a role of ideas and inspiration, and bring that to Charlie and allow Charlie to then take those ideas and inspiration and turn it into mock-ups, which could be anywhere from 5 to 10 mock-ups, I would say, the
Hmm.
first go around. And from there, we sit down internally and talk about the first round that came back, and what we would be, what we like, what we think could use improvement, what might not be right at this time, and we continue to narrow that down back and forth with Charlie until we end up to the point of where we are picking the colors of the Charlie logo that's going to go on the socks. So it's down to a point of really finite details that need picked out for each kit. So it's very much a back and forth. It takes quite some time. I would say anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks for it
Hmm.
to be figured out. And it's a fun process, probably one of my favorite parts of the job.
Oh, for sure. The bridge kit in particular is something that just hasn't been done before, and so, and like anywhere. And so, was there any hesitation internally about taking sort of a big swing like that? Was anyone nervous, until it was sort of revealed and seen like how what people thought about it, that this might not work?
I don't think so. I think as an organization, what I saw, when I came in here and what I liked is that we aren't afraid to fail. So taking a big swing, you understand that something like that could happen, but you have to. I think if you hesitate for a second or overthink it, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Um, and that you might as well just put all your energy forward in the idea, follow your gut, so that we can kind of deliver the best fan experience that we can to our fan base and our supporters. So, um, I would say no, there wasn't concern, but at the same time, you still want to make as many people as you can love the jersey, feel connected to the jersey, and have it want to be put on them.
Of course, yeah. You mentioned, I mean, you talked a little bit about this idea of connectivity and bridges. Were there any other ideas that maybe you guys left on sort of the cutting room floor that you kind of liked and might have some potential, but ultimately you guys decided to go with the bridge instead?
Sure, there's a good number of them
Yeah.
that end up not making the cut, and that could be for a number of reasons. It could be just because it's not the right time for it. It's not according to the inspiration that we were trying to purvey, to the audience. Um, so a good example would be, uh, we had a jersey that contained, kind of a map of Pittsburgh sublimated
Hmm.
into the back part of the jersey. And instead of it making the cut for the pro team, it became the Academy's away jersey. We still loved
Mm.
it. There was a couple of reasons why it didn't make it here, for the pro team, but we ended up making it the Academy away jersey, and it's a kit that I love too. So yeah, some that don't make it still have a second life elsewhere, but some that don't make it end up being saved for later or holding it in our banks for more inspiration down the road.
For sure, yeah. You guys did reveal the third kit this past weekend. You're calling it the Summers Rivers kit. I absolutely love it. It sort of is a play on like a sash kind of thing. How did this come to be?
Well, again, like you start every jersey with kind of an idea of what you want to convey. We still wanted to give it that Pittsburgh inspiration, but kind of bridge that gap of somewhere between a traditional kit and something that was overly unique and custom, like the bridge jersey. So something somewhere in between. So custom, but had a little bit more traditional feel to it. I know one of the things that I wanted to do was play with the negative space of the jersey to help create the design, and then still give off that kind of Pittsburgh inspiration in some way if we could. What kind of meaning could create behind that. So we settled on the flow of our three rivers and kind of what that has meant to the city. So, whether it's the flow of goods for the hundreds of years of goods that have floated down the river, whether it's the communities that it's created, and just the general idea of the water, you know, adding some sort of resilience or, opportunity to the people of Pittsburgh
Hmm.
and bringing that together. So we're like, how do we create the flow of water? So we just decided to create what we would have called a wave design with three distinct waves and form them somehow that would be different than it just looking like water. Um,
Yeah.
and that's how you ended up with three distinct waves created by actual lines, um, flowing on the jersey.
I think it's awesome. It's amazing. I'm a big fan of sort of the sash look, and I know that
Uh-huh.
there aren't many teams that do it. Team USA did it a few years back, and I thought it was something that was kind of unique and different. You see a few teams that'll do it. So at first I was like, "Oh, that's cool," and then it dawned. I was like, "Oh, it's kind of like a sash, but it's very much a Pittsburgh sash. It's very very cool." I'm
Right.
curious, you guys sort of make these designs. How much does Bob have to sign off on these, or do you guys kind of like do them and then he doesn't really care and you just kind of show it to him?
Bob definitely gets shown the artwork. Tuffy the same. Um, so there's kind of a small group internally that works on it here, and then we
Mhm.
kind of end up with designs that we think are the way to go,
Mhm.
and that's when it's put out to Bob and Tuffy, and for them to show what they think of it and their thoughts on it, because we of course want their feedback on that sort
Right.
of thing.
Yeah. Um, All great stuff. Over the years, there's been a lot of discussion about sort of establishing an identity for the club through the kits. And so for the past few seasons, we've had the hoops look. And, I know some fans absolutely loved it. I was kind of like, I've seen other teams do it. It didn't feel unique enough to me. Where do you sort of stand on that philosophy of like, are we just going to see bridges forever now? Or do you think that maybe we can change every year? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think you'll see something that kind of creates a kit set. The idea that we have three different types of jerseys. One might be more traditional, one might be super custom, one might be somewhere in the middle, something that kind
Mhm.
of brings them together. I think we all always want them to have some sort of Pittsburgh feel to them. Typically, that could be done with the colors. Um, a lot of times for third kits, we're going to want to get as wild as we can, add in pops of color, change the color, if we can as well. So I think there's going to be some identity to it that, it's a Riverhounds jersey, but you never know, or kit, but you never know what you're going to get, except for the fact that you feel it is Pittsburgh, and it is the Riverhounds and what they do with jerseys. So, sometimes you might see something that's more traditional, with some added flair to it. You might see something that is truly custom, in the fact of that we are actually squeezing some sort of custom picture onto the back of it and sublimating that into a jersey and making a full soccer kit out of it. There could be a number of things, but I think they will in general have something that is interwoven and you will feel amongst every jersey. Um, Even with the customization, as that being part of the kit as a whole. moving forward.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I've heard in the past that this could be a pretty lengthy process in terms of figuring out exactly what it is that you want each year. Now, you mentioned sort of 4 to 8 weeks. When will you guys start planning the 2025 kits?
So it is happening right now. Actually,
Oh,
we are
wow.
right in the middle of the process of the kits for next year. So it starts early. Plus, the Charlie partnership came on a little bit later. So there was a little bit more of a scramble last year to get the kits done so that we had them in time. We're able to release them in time, reveal them in time. Starting earlier this year, one, because the partnership's already established, and two, because we understand that there's a lot of stuff, that goes into that process. Um,
Mhm.
and so we are in the heart of our home and away kits right now. Still have the third kit to do, but uh, we are seeing designs as we speak.
And I don't know if you can answer this question, and if not, you could just say no comment. But lots of buzz around the USLW team joining the league next year in 2025.
Yes,
Can you say anything about whether or not you're designing those kits as well, and if they may be similar or different to what the guys are getting?
yes, we are still wrapping up name,
Okay.
and determining kind of what the brand is going to be. Uh, so once that is established, we will start that kit design process, and that I think that it'll be exciting. Uh, I think in comparison to the Riverhounds, you'll see something that's interwoven amongst the kits, but we still want to make sure that the W team has their own brand and their own identity, and we'll do whatever we can to ensure that.
Interesting. Interesting. Lots of like reading between the lines there that I'm sure fans are going to be doing to try to guess and speculate what may be coming. All super exciting stuff. Um, Ben, I really appreciate all the effort that you and your team put into these kits. I think that the new look this year has been fantastic. I think it's a great departure from what we've seen, and I think everyone is really looking forward to what you guys put together in the coming years. Thanks again for joining me today, man. I really appreciate it.
Mike, I appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.
And thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoy this type of conversation, be sure to subscribe in your podcast player of choice or YouTube. We will be back with more Hounds content for you very, very soon.